Between 2006 to 07 and 2012 to 13, Alex Ferguson's Man United team dominated the English Premier League, winning 5 out of 7 in that period. Manchester United was the best team ever to grace the Premier League until a certain bold maniac came along in 2016. His arrival came with a lot of doubts. His achievements were questioned. His playing style was put under scrutiny. But years down the line, Josep Guardiola has dusted Manchester United's legacy, and now there's a new sheriff in town. Is Pep the greatest manager the English Premier League has ever seen? We are witnessing in real time a generation of brilliant managers struggling to find silverware, all because one man exists. Pep Guardiola's dominance in the Premier League is undeniable, but is it creating a one-man show at the top? This dominance feels a bit like a rapper trying to make a name for yourself during 50 Cent's prime. There's just no way getting past the king. 6 Premier League titles in 8 seasons, 4 of them in a row. A domestic treble and a historic Champions League treble on top of that. Let's face it, Pep Guardiola isn't just rewriting history, he's tearing up the rulebook and starting fresh. Since waltzing into Manchester City in 2016, he's established a level of dominance that only Sir Alex Ferguson has ever dared to dream of. But here's the real question that's got everyone buzzing. Is Pep Guardiola the undisputed king of the Premier League? The greatest manager this league has ever witnessed? Let me know in the comments. Of course, when we talk about the greatest managers, one name always pops up: Sir Alex Ferguson. Remember those glorious years for United fans in the late 90s and 2000s. Trophies galore, young stars shining, and teams trembling just facing United. All thanks to the one and only Sir Alex. It wasn't always a fairy tale though. When Ferguson arrived in 1986, United hadn't won the league in ages. Even though they had a long history of success, fans were yearning for a change. Enter Ferguson, a 45-year-old Scottish manager who some saw as a gamble. There were tough times in the beginning, but the gamble paid off. After 7 years under Ferguson, United finally ended their trophy drought by winning the very first Premier League title in 1992-93. This was just the beginning of a legendary era. Over the next 22 seasons, Ferguson built an empire at United. They racked up an incredible haul of trophies: 13 league titles, 5 FA Cups and 2 European Cups. By the time Sir Alex retired in a blaze of glory, his legacy was set, secure, untouchable. Until a certain Catalan showed up in town. Back in 2016, when he set foot in England, Pep certainly wasn't some unknown quantity. I mean, United fans had first-hand experience. The man took them to the cleaners in the Champions League final twice, and had the almighty Fergie trembling at the massacre he was witnessing. There's no doubt Pep and his boyhood club ruined a lot of childhood back in the day. His journey to the top started in 2007 when he was handed the Barcelona B team to manage. The young Guardiola did so well that they bumped him up to manage the big boys, thanks in part to a recommendation from Johan Cruyff. Talk about a good recommendation too, because Guardiola's team ran riot in Europe. It wasn't just that it was a team filled with all-timers, it was that they won in style. Barcelona's famous tiki-taka had the European football community in a chokehold. By the time he called it quits in 2012, he had a trophy cabinet overflowing with a club record of 14 trophies. But even with all that success, the question was, could his fancy style work anywhere else? Well, guess what? It did. Pep moved to Bayern Munich in 2013 and won the German league every year for 3 seasons. But you know one thing they say about the doubters? They just wouldn't let go. After he conquered Germany, folks from the other side were either begging or dismissing Pep's magic touch. Win the Premier League with that fancy style? No way, was the consensus. Never being one to back off from a challenge, Pep Guardiola arrived to the blue half of Manchester in 2016. City weren't always the juggernaut they are under Pep. Sure, they had some success after the big money came in around 2008. They splashed the cash on big names and eventually found a winning formula with Roberto Mancini. He delivered the FA Cup, And then, in that legendary 2010-11 season, the Premier League title, thanks to Aguero's unforgettable last-minute winner against QPR. Manuel Pellegrini followed Mancini and kept the trophies coming, adding another league title and 2 League Cups. But 2 league titles in 7 years wasn't quite the dominance City craved. They wanted to rule, not just compete. This is where Pep Guardiola came in, and it's been 6 Premier League trophies, 2 FA Cups, and the Champions League all under his watch. Now, some folks might say Guardiola's success is all about the money Manchester City spends on players. It's true that City has spent a lot, around €161 million every year since Pep joined in 2016, which totals €1.51 billion. But here's the twist, their rivals haven't exactly been pinching pennies. Chelsea spent even more than City in that same period, splashing out €2.11 billion. Manchester United spent a hefty €1.37 billion, and Arsenal weren't far behind with €1.18 billion. Even Liverpool have splashed a hefty €984.5 million in the same timeline, which is quite funny seeing how Klopp always made it seem they are far behind City when it comes to spending. Tottenham with €1.01 billion hasn't been shy about spending big. All of these points that City and Pep spend a lot, but their rivals aren't exactly far behind. The bald Catalan doesn't just roll out the cash, he also does his talking on the pitch. He is like a mighty warrior who has conquered all with no challenger left. Sure, there have been some challenges in the past, teams that kept things interesting, but it's the same story time and time again with these other guys. Liverpool has had it worse. The Reds have pushed City hard over the years, racking up 92 points, and even a record 97 points, but still fell short. Do you know how insane that is? It is almost like you have to attain total perfection to beat Pep. Arteta's Arsenal are the latest victim of the Pep Guardiola wormhole. The Gunners have gone toe-to-toe with City in the last 2 seasons and can't hack it. Heck, they even got 4 points off City and still lost the league. And yet folks say the Gunners bottled it, but did they? If you're going up against a man who's only lost the league twice in 8 years, then that might seem harsh. Pep doesn't just win, he rewrites the record books anywhere he goes. So it's hardly any surprise he's setting a whole new standard for what it takes to win the Premier League. Remember that crazy 100-point season in 2017 to 2018? That was just the beginning. Since Pep arrived, excluding that first season when they came third, City has averaged 91.1 points per season. On top of that, they've picked up a whopping 17 trophies. They even managed a domestic treble in 2019 and another one that included the Champions League in 2023. Before achieving that historic treble, there were comparisons flying around. Folks were wondering if Pep City could match the dominance of Ferguson's United. United, after all, were the only other English team to win the treble back in 1999, and they went on to win the league the next 2 years as well. City, for all their domestic success, hadn't quite conquered Europe yet. Pep had only won the European Cup with Barcelona and was starting to look a bit like a one-hit wonder. Sure, he showed flashes of brilliance at Bayern, but he failed on the biggest stage in Europe with that super team that had Robben and Ribéry. 6 years into the job at City, and it was starting to look like déjà vu until he finally smashed through that barrier in the 2022-2023 season. With the legacy secured, having won both domestic and European trophies, is Pep the greatest manager of all time? Trophies are shiny and everyone loves them, that's for sure. They're a big part of what makes a manager great. You gotta win stuff. And in 17 years managing Barcelona, Bayern Munich and now City, Pep has racked up 38 trophies. But is trophy collecting the only measure of a great manager? Is a manager who wins a ton in a weaker league truly comparable to someone dominating a tougher league with fewer trophies? Is winning the English Premier League harder than, say, the league in Italy? It's a complicated question, and that's why judging a manager solely on trophies is a bit naive. But here's the thing, Pep's impact goes way beyond just winning. His tactical genius and his constant drive to be the best have all inspired coaches around the world. Pep disciples are popping up everywhere. But wait a minute, Isn't that what other legendary managers like Johan Cruyff, Arrigo Sacchi and Sir Alex Ferguson did too? They all have strong cases for greatness. So what makes the other guys so special? Let me hear from you in the comments. Is Pep Guardiola a revolutionary genius?